Oh, look at this. We're never stopping the music now, even with radios.
Oh, it's infected everything.
Oh, in a great way?
In like a Hep C sort of way.
In a Hep
Or
C
Hep
sort
B?
of-
Which is the
B?
worst? Hep B or
Do you mind
Hep B
look
is
that
bad
up?
or Hep C?
I'm going to try to do this before
Which
the
one
song
did
is
Pamela
over.
Anderson get from what's his face?
Tommy Lee or Kid Rock?
Tommy Lee gave her Hep C or Hep B?
Let's see. Hep C is most likely to turn into a chronic condition.
Okay, so Hep C is the bad one.
Hep C's the bad one.
Hep C is the bad one. That's good to know. That's good to know.
Why are we done with the podcast?
Is it
I
over?
mean, it's kind of why else are we here? This is Ramble Radio. Ramble Radio 58. This is the Ramble podcast, a geek's guide to pop culture. But we've already solved which hepatitis is worse, which is probably the question at the forefront of everyone's minds tuning in. But
so you learn something every show.
You learn something here. If you're tuning in, we love you and we thank you for being here.
We do.
We'd like you to subscribe to the Ramble, give it a 5-star rating and a positive text review. If you don't do any of those things, we're just going to have to brand you a chump, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. I would be geek, comedian, lover, cancer fighter, road tripper, Jerry Rocha. Right over there we have the one and only my brother.
Comedian Eddie Pence.
There it is.
Podcaster, actor.
By the time
director.
this comes out, when this comes out, all those hats that you just mentioned, and my goodness, you're also a fan of a team that might just be half a game out of first place in the division. How about that?
We're tied. We're
tied
in
for
first.
We're in first.
We're in first.
The team I love by the time you hear this might be 1-3. I don't think the Giants are a gimme win with how bad the Cowboys have been defensively. So there's that. I don't think the Giants are that gimme they used to be. Not with the Cowboys defense playing the way it has been.
It's interesting because the Cowboys have so much money tied up in two people and did nothing to improve their weaknesses. They got. I know we're supposed to talk about something else, but they got smacked in the playoffs.
And they never
Green Bay
recovered,
Packers.
and they did nothing to fix how the Packers smacked them.
And the
They did
Packers
nothing to
just
solve
ran
that.
up the middle on them, just destroyed them up
And
the
now
middle.
that's all anyone has to do to them.
And you would think
it's a passing league, and fucking running the wishbone beats the Cowboys right now.
Yeah, and you would think if you get handled like that in the playoffs, you're like, and then you lose your defensive coordinator and most of your defensive staff. You're like, okay, we need to bring someone in who can repair where we got beat really bad.
Yep. And I think you also get rid of the coach. You don't get cleaned like that.
Yeah.
In a playoff game at home and keep the coach. That was just anyway. Here we are. We're the game. Alt-right Cody will be back. He will be joining us soon. Someday. But man, today we want to go down memory lane like we tend to do on Ramble Radios, and God, just talk about our love for all things G.I. Joe. And I don't think you can love G.I. Joe without loving these two characters. And
these two are the most pivotal characters.
Would you agree? Are they literally this is the Hall & Oates of G.I. Joe.
You could make that claim. I know we haven't said which two we're talking about yet. For me, I didn't love one of them. I was not one of the guys that just loved that character. The other one absolutely loved. Absolutely loved the other one.
Did you now grow to love that other one? Are you still iffy on that one?
I have a respect for the character. And over time, I'm like, it's a cool looking character, sure, but it was not one of my favorites from the get go. It wasn't like when I was a kid. I wasn't like I have to have that figure. I wasn't like that.
Oh God, I had to have both of these. My favorite Joes if I had to young me, right? If I had to go back, I don't think we ever got a Jinx figure when we were kids.
Not when I was collecting the 3 3/4 inches. No,
Jinx would have been number one. Not even close. It would have been Jinx. But it would have had to have been.
Now we're talking about Joes or Cobras?
Both. I just say they're all Joe. I just call them. Call it. But I'm going to say my favorite all-time characters were these two that we're going to go in on. Destro, no question. Destro, no.
See, I have Destro ranked above one of those.
who was the fucking? Oh God, I'm blanking on his name. The Ranger. God.
Ranger, wasn't it Ranger?
Yeah, what that was his name? Was just Ranger?
Yeah,
I thought it was
Ranger.
something else. And
Codename Ranger.
Codename Ranger and Roadblock. So Destro, Ranger, Roadblock, and Quick Kick. And
Quick Kick was good. He came a little later though.
He came a little later, but I have those right beneath Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. To me, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow are the coolest G.I. Joe anything. I
have Storm Shadow is up there, number 1.
Yes. Stalker was the Ranger.
Stalker, that's right, Stalker. Between Storm Shadow and I don't have Snake Eyes number 2. I don't.
Wow.
I realize they're cool and together they work really well. One's black, one's white. They're both ninjas. They train together.
They both also have the greatest names out of any toys
Snake
that we
Eyes
grew
and
up
Storm
with.
Shadow, yes.
Those are the greatest names ever.
But as far as figures go that I loved, I have Storm Shadow was up there because I could not wait to get a hold of Storm Shadow because he came with the backpack. He came with nunchucks. He came with 2 swords. He came with a bow and arrow.
And it was cool to see a bad guy dressed in all white. That was
bad
so
guy on white.
Awesome.
He actually had, like, you could open up his backpack and put the nunchucks in the backpack and close it.
Yes.
And he had the 2 swords that would fit in the backpack. Anytime you had something you could put the weapons where they attach to the figure.
It took advantage of the accessories. The accessories all worked together. It was fantastic.
As soon as I got that Storm Shadow home, I had one of those magic markers that was the silver ones. That's a silver paint, and I painted the sword silver.
Nice.
Nice. So it was definitely Storm Shadow, but before I got to Snake Eyes, which Snake Eyes is good. I like Snake Eyes, but like I had Destro above him. I had Cobra Commander above him, and I had Zartan above him.
What about Gung Ho? Did he make it?
Gung Ho's a little farther down. A guy wearing just a vest. It's like,
when he got the Marine Blues, Marine Blues
were tight.
That was a great Gung Ho.
Marine Blues were tight.
To me, it was all Snake. And then when when Storm Shadow went Joe, I was like, nobody's stopping him. Who's there? Yeah. And I just think that like the biggest travesty of the G.I. Joe movie were how non-existent Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow were in it.
They never took advantage of them.
I mean, what do you do?
Well, I mean the first 5-part miniseries they did with G.I. Joe, it was all about Snake Eyes getting lost in the woods and being radiated and all that shit. Which I think that should have ended him. I don't know why no one could touch him. Oh yeah, that old shaman guy wrapped him in blankets and it cured him.
Right.
That's right.
But Snake Eyes, like, were they just too strong? Was it just like fuck?
Well, I guess maybe it's sort of what they did with this last X-Men '97 series on Disney Plus, where it's like Wolverine wasn't used a whole lot
because he'll just fucking mow through most of these motherfuckers.
Because he's the coolest character and he'll mow through everybody. So let's focus on the other people, and not make this a Wolverine show.
Because I mean, you thought if Sergeant Slaughter squashed Nemesis Enforcer,
right?
Snake Eyes. Are you kidding? Are you fucking kidding? But and I think that's why I loved them so much, is because they weren't really that up front and center in the cartoons. Like,
no, they were kind of took a little back seat.
Which I guess it's the only way. They're just too cool. Like, what else are you gonna? I mean, Wisely in the cartoons, I always thought as a kid Roadblock was like a favorite in the cartoons because Roadblock seemed to be in every episode. You know what I mean? He was cool as shit. He was just this big fucking badass, ultra heavy machine gunner dude. All that was great. But yeah, they really, I don't know why they didn't just give the love to Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. Or would they have worn out their welcome if every...
Maybe they, I mean, because it's so easy to make a whole show, have them just take over a series where it's just these two guys.
They really would. It's almost like it's like and it is like what happened in the third Batman film, the Val Kilmer one, is as great as Two-Face is, he would just end up kind of being a stooge to the Riddler, because the Riddler is just so much more.
He's too smart.
He's too smart, and so it's like, well, I guess you just, how could you use them? You would have had to have made they should have done it though. Like, they should have been every 8 episodes there should have been one that was just full-on
all Snake Eyes
and Storm Shadow.
Well, when I first got introduced to G.I. Joe, because Storm Shadow didn't come until a little later. He wasn't part of the original
I believe Snake Eyes was, and he was so cool.
Snake Eyes
being the
was
all black. I was like, oh fuck.
because they didn't want to paint the figure. It was
Yeah.
cheaper just to ship him out black. But because it wasn't clear that he was like a ninja,
right?
When he first came out, it was just a guy in a black. He almost looked like he was like a night ops.
In fact, he
uniform.
was called a commando, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
in the
it's like he was in like a night ops sort of commando.
Commando, codename Snake Eyes.
Yeah, and it wasn't until like you introduced Storm Shadow, you're like, oh, he's a ninja. He's trained like a ninja. So you kind of like they kind of added that later on. So at the beginning, it was just this black ops commando guy. So he never had the cool. I mean, he looked cool, but he didn't have the mystique of being the story of being a ninja until Storm Shadow came along. So Storm Shadow sort of completed
definitely
him.
Lifted him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I can't. I'm in anything we grew up with: comic books, action figures, video games, movies, TV shows, toy lines. I can't think of two better names than Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow.
It's pretty fucking. I mean, it's pretty good.
I mean, I think the next closest one is like Omega Supreme, Starscream, Megatron, right? Shockwave, like those are all great. But goddamn, Snake Eyes and I had to pick, if I was forced to pick, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, I think have to be the two coolest fucking names out there. I just wish they were used more in the shows. I think, and then in the movie they were just completely non-existent.
Oh, the movie
I would have loved it better if fucking this is gonna sound sacrilegious, but
what?
You don't even need Nemesis Enforcer. Just have Storm Shadow be Cobra Law's fucking guy. Like Globulus is okay. What better way to have him let Cobra Commander know what's up than have Storm Shadow be the guy who mutates Cobra? Like you find out that Storm Shadow was actually Cobra Law all along.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he's like, but like he's the one who trained Pythona, all that. That could have been so fucking badass. And then you need fucking Snake Eyes,
right.
But
it would just been cool all along. Storm Shadow all along was just playing them the whole time,
and he was really a servant of Cobra Law, and he was like, he knew Globulus's plan for, like, they were the ones who plucked him from that dojo, right? It was Cobra Law who got him and said, you're with us. That would have been fucking amazing. And then, but I look back, I just think like they were just two of the coolest fucking characters.
Did you ever have the Snake Eyes one with the timber, or did you just have the original? I only had the original.
I had neither.
Line Snake Eyes.
I never had the original Snake Eyes. I never had him with timber.
You never had a Snake Eyes?
The one I got was the later one when he kind of had the silver and he had the two knives in his chest.
Oh,
that was the only snake. I was so excited because I finally got fucking Snake Eyes. But
right.
I never got the OG ones. I was so bummed out. I was Storm Shadow. My favorite Storm Shadow is actually that black and white when he was a Joe. When he's kind of got that weird, when he comes with the bow and arrow and all that. Like, I loved that Storm Shadow. But
I remember the first Storm Shadow. When the first Storm Shadow came out, and like soon after that is when, because it was like the mid '80s when everything was like American Ninja and like Chuck Norris movies. Like we had that whole mid '80s phase of ninja and karate movies, Karate Kid, all that stuff.
Yep.
And that's when Quick Kick came out, like to really capitalize on like all the karate
stuff. Basically
stuff.
just Bruce Lee. They're like, let's make Bruce Lee a Joe.
Like hey dude, you got to have a shirt and shoes to come to these meetings.
Yeah.
Like you can't just walk around the Joe base barefoot and no t-shirt.
Fucking idiot. Show some respect.
It's not your fucking bedroom, bud.
Take it.
but that was like because I remember that because at that point when Storm Shadow first came out, Snake Eyes, it wasn't clear Snake Eyes was a ninja. So it was like, the natural foe for Storm Shadow has to be Quick Kick.
Has to be.
Because Quick Kick had the little throwing stars on his little red sash.
Right.
And
when in reality, it's a squash match, Storm Shadow.
It's not even close. It's a fuck.
He fucks him up.
It's Bad News Brown versus Brooklyn Brawler. It's not even. He gets ghetto blasted in the back of the head. It's over. Brooklyn Brawler's done. Damn it, what a ramble. The bad news is, even though it is After Dark Ramble Radio, which we swore we'd never do, we do have contractual obligations. Skeletor. We were just discussing Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. Did you? I don't know if you ever played with the G.I. Joe toys. They were very popular around the same time. You were very popular down here on Earth. Did you have a favorite G.I. Joe character?
Eddie, baby, that's a wonderful question, baby. I'm glad that you asked me that, baby. It was probably the one who changed colors when you'd put them in water. Who was that one?
Zartan?
That's the one who would change colors. I would just dunk him in jizz. And all the colors he would turn then. Lots of jizz. I actually have a lake o' jizz, I call it. The lake o' jizz that I take my Zartan figure. By the way, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, that's what I name my nutsack. Each gonad. One is Snake Eyes, one is Storm Shadow. And you want the Nemesis Enforcer? Well, that's my cock. Now, back to important matters. I don't mean to, let's get serious again.
Okay.
The Lake of Jizz. That's a pretty big lake, I bet you would think. All the jizzing that I do, all the jizzing the Big S does, to dip that little Zartan character in, and I have several Zartans, all for the jizz dipping. I bet you're wondering, well, my God, I look at maps of Eternia, there's no lake of jizz anywhere. Where could such a giant lake filled with jizz be hiding? Okay, go ahead, Daddy. Go ahead.
Where?
He-Man's mother's pussy! You get it? It's so big, it can hide a lake of jizz.
Yeah.
Cinesnob. Go follow Cinesnob Cody. Let's get the Cinesnob podcast so Cody can get on Rotten Tomatoes. And
it's like the river Styx. You dip someone in that lake of jizz and they're invincible.
5 days a week, patreon.com, The Ralph Report. Tuesdays, Fridays, Ramble Radio. Wednesdays, Ramble Proper. And then also on Friday, Not Today with Jen Sturger.
Is Styx even the one that makes you invincible?
No.
I thought those were they take you to the other land.
River
of the
Styx
dead.
is where you get taken to the Hades.
Yeah, Hades. It's fucking.
He's an idiot.
You can find me in the same Ramble locations. You can find Eddie and Cody. I'm also streaming old games, Retro Rocha on Kick and Twitch most nights, and just my name on YouTube. Subscribe to all of our things. Find us, love us, all those wonderful things. And until next time, have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back next week for some brand new Ramble radioing and some brand new rambling. Take care, everybody.
This is a row, row, row in your lake of jizz kind of music.
Can we cut his mic? Why is the mic still?
I know. We got to cut that. Jesus.
It's not what's it, Rivers? What's the thing you dipped in? The thing that Hercules got dipped in?
Achilles,
not Hercules. Achilles got dipped in it, right?
Yeah. Do we have to look this up? I don't know if we're going to have
It made
time
him invincible.
Yeah. Let's see. Where was it?
We'll tell him next Ramble Radio.
Do we wait? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no. It was the River Styx.
Was it the River Styx that makes you invincible?
River Styx served all kinds of things. There it was.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess we stand corrected.
Do you have an apology, you fucks?
No.
All right.
We're just going to end it.
We're just done.
Bye.